they're heading into match day 27. Not so? I think that's where we're heading to. It will be match day 27 for the club of Arsenal. And remember, match day 26 ended in an all draw in there for you. And it really went ahead to produce results that very many Arsenal fans never really liked, because it resulted into Arsenal reducing their lead to 4. Yet, by the time they went ahead to, obviously, if at all they had gone ahead to win, Arsenal would have gone ahead to keep a 6-point difference, you know, between them and Man City. And that means things never went on well as planned for the club of Arsenal. Not so. So we are here to obviously bring you what we call the latest news and information as far as this is really concerned onto this beautiful channel of ours. And that is what we call the Rokani Media Football. As it stands, Arsenal is still on top of the Premier League table. No doubt about it. Arsenal is on top of the Premier League table, right? And they are seated there very comfortably, and they are 4 points, you know, ahead of a team known as Manchester City that has obviously gone ahead to obviously put on a very huge press, you know, and pressure to the club of Arsenal that very many Arsenal fans are really thinking it won't really happen in there for you. But 100% believe it will happen. It will happen. And there is no way I really diverge from my earlier prediction that it's going to be Arsenal to win the league this particular season. I still stand on my point that Arsenal will walk away with the Premier League trophy this particular season. Amid this, Mikel Arteta coming up with things that I don't really agree with him, but I really believe that they still have room to obviously put their mistakes right. Wolverhampton Wanderers is 20th. It's the team that is seated on the bottom of the Premier League table. That means a team seated on the top of the Premier League table is going to be versing a team seated onto the bottom of the Premier League table. And such teams are always very, very, very deadly. You know that very well. They are really very, 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 very deadly. You know, they are really very, very deadly, and Arsenal knows it very well. Arsenal has 57 points. Wolverhampton Wanderers has 9 points. So, in all the games they've gone ahead to play, that's what they've gone ahead to obviously to manage to collect. Goals scored. Arsenal has gone ahead to score 50 goals. Wolverhampton Wanderers has gone ahead to score 16. Then Wolves has conceded 48 goals. Arsenal has gone ahead to concede 18. 181 shots by Wolverhampton Wanderers. Of those, 83 have been on target. 98 have been off target. Then shots blocked by the opponents are 62. For the club of Arsenal, they've managed to put together a total shots of 270, right? The total shots are 270. Then 129 shots on target, 141 shots have been off target, 111 shots have been blocked by the opponents that Arsenal have gone ahead to play. Wolverhampton Wanderers have been averaging a passing accuracy of 80.13 per game. Even Arsenal has been really averaging 84.93 passing accuracy per game. Wolverhampton Wanderers has gained 2 points from losing position, and Arsenal has gone ahead to gain 9 points from losing positions. Then 7 points dropped from winning position. That is the club of Wolverhampton Wanderers, and Arsenal has dropped 7 points from winning position, including the game they played against Sunderland, you know, and they've gone ahead to play very many away games into the Premier League as we speak right about now, if you're really a person following up onto this particular incident. Then we head to Wolverhampton Wanderers. They beat Grimsby in the FA Cup by 1-0. Arsenal beat Wigan Athletic by 4-0. In their previous Premier League games, Nottingham drew with Wolves 0-0 and Arsenal drew with Brentford 1-1. So that is how things really went ahead to pan out. The meetings are 110, won by Wolverhampton Wanderers at 28, and Arsenal's going ahead to win 55. Draws are 27 draws in there for you. You get? So that is all about the club of Arsenal, and they're really having a very big edge in there for you. The previous meetings, this season, Arsenal won by 2-1 at the Emirates. Wolverhampton Wanderers lost to Arsenal last season 1-0, and on 17th of August 2024, Arsenal beat Wolverhampton Wanderers by 2-0. You know, that was really one of the points that you guys needed to obviously know about this club known as Arsenal. Going to the team news. Going to the team news for the club of Arsenal and Wolverhampton Wanderers in there. Something that you need to obviously come up and really embrace to the fullest. Who has this news? For those that are really out, Martin Odegaard is out. Max Dolman is out. Mikel Merino is out. And Kai Havertz is out in there for you. So none of those will obviously come in and obviously put in a very huge performance because they are really injured. But the injury boosts are really amazing for the fans of Arsenal. And this is what Arteta has come up with in what we call the pre-match press conference that was held at the Sobha Reality Training Center. And Arteta came up with the following that went ahead to obviously excite the fans of Arsenal. This is what the manager had to say. This is what the manager of Arsenal really had to say about this. He came up and obviously said that on Carafiori, he's fine. He was training with us today. He's feeling better and hopefully he's fit for tomorrow. Ben White, it was just a bit of fatigue. He did a lot in the game and by the end of it, he was feeling a bit of tiredness in the hamstring, but he's fine. On Martin Odegaard, he's not going to be fit, but for Sunday, we are very hopeful that he can be with us. Kai Havertz. Havertz is the other one that, again, for the weekend, is a possibility. So looking forward to having him in the squad. So the manager is saying that Odegaard and Kai Havertz might be ready for the weekend game against Tottenham Hotspur, and one will be like, don't you think that is what we call a mind game? And it might be, and there is no way you come out and say that it might not be one of the mind games that are being played by the manager in here. So as it stands, the side of Arsenal is really having players available, and those are not available. I've gone ahead to obviously say everything. Going to Wolverhampton Wanderers, Hwang is ruled out for several weeks with a calf injury, you know, and Totti Gomez, who has been sidelined with a hamstring injury since playing in the aforementioned defeat 2-1 in December, you know, he's also soon to return. Edwards only made one substitution in the win at Grimsby, and that was in the 89th minute. So he may consider freshening up his lineup in a few positions with the likes of Josa, Mati, Dohi, Hugo, Rodrigo Gomez, and January signing Angel Gomez also pushing for a recall. You understand? So that is it, and they're really having almost their squad readily available to come up and obviously get the job done and dusted. So that pushes us straight to what we call the probable starting 11 for the club of Arsenal in this particular time. System, it's a 4-3-3 system. That is it, and we are going to obviously have that. And very many changes obviously going to be made by the club of Arsenal, because over the weekend they had to play in what we call Arsenal had to play in what we call the FA Cup, and some huge changes were made by the manager, and that means today we look at those expected changes, right? That the manager is obviously gonna be making, right? So in goal, it was Kepa Arrizabalaga who came up and obviously started for the side of Arsenal, right? And they also had the allowance to obviously come up, and really bring in Setford, a player they signed from a side known as Ajax. So that means David Raya will get back in his position and will play into that particular position. Right back, it was Benjamin White, who really had a very decent game, but I think we are welcoming back Julian Timber to play as the right back for the club of Arsenal in there. Left back, Ricardo Carafiori is back, but I don't expect him to start into this particular encounter. And the manager had the chance to try out Lewis Kelly as a midfielder, but the warm-up injury that Ricardo Carafiori went ahead to get in there, went ahead obviously caused problems, and Lewis Kelly was sent back into the left-back position, and Saka played in the central midfield. So, as it stands, I think it's going to be Hinkapie to start as the left back in this particular encounter, as they're playing away, to see how Arsenal comes up and obviously puts in a very beautiful shift in there for you for this particular side of Arsenal that I do believe is really doing wonders left, right, and center this particular season. So we go to the central defense. Obviously, Saliba returned over the weekend, and he's obviously going to be playing as a right-sided centre back. Then left-sided centre back, obviously Magalhaes will come in through to represent, and that means Lewis Kelly will obviously get back to the bench, and even Mosquera will be played off the bench. That is it. And from there, we obviously go to the midfield. Nogard started as a CDM, and Nogard was voted as the man of the match. And I think Zubimendi, who came on later, will start as a CDM in this game of Wolverhampton Wanderers. Then box-to-box midfielder, he was one of the unused substitutes, preparing him for these particular games coming in through thick and fast. Remember, Arsenal is playing against Wolverhampton Wanderers tomorrow. They are playing Spurs over the weekend, and I think they do have a Chelsea game in there. So the manager was like, let me rest my whip on Declan Rice, because I know he'll obviously do a very wonderful job. So in the game of Wolverhampton Wanderers, Rice will take a very integral role to obviously run that midfield. Number 10, with Kai Havertz out, Odegaard out, Ethan Nwaneri out in all on loan, you just have to think of only one player, Eberechi Eze, who had 2 assists in that particular game of Wigan. And I think he can use as a springboard. He can use this as a springboard to obviously come up and really send a message to the manager that when I start in the game of Wolverhampton Wanderers and I really do well, I want to see myself starting into that game of Tottenham Hotspur, right? So that is it. And I think it will obviously make a lot of sense in there for you. So we head to the most difficult pick of the day. Peter Bagonza, thank you for watching in through. Hope you're really having fun in there for you and you're really enjoying this stream. Now, the right forward, Noni Madueke, has been on target the previous 2 games that he has gone ahead to play for the club of Arsenal, right? He scored when they are playing against Sunderland, and he opened up the scoreline when Arsenal was beating Wigan by 4-0. Now, Saka really looked good. And if you are the manager, what exactly do you do? Big question. If you're an Arsenal manager, what do you do? Who do you start as your right forward in this particular encounter? Right? Who do you start in this particular encounter? It's a question. It's a question. It's really a question that really calls in for an answer from you, right? It's the Premier League, right? And I don't really see anything like Noni Madueke starting. He has been having a very beautiful run, and if it's all in the right way, he should be the man starting. But I think the manager will be like, let me start Saka. But I won't be shocked if at all Noni Madueke really starts and the manager plays Saka some 30 minutes, because it looks like he brought him in and was not ready to start him in that game. And Saka had really played a lot of minutes in that particular encounter, meaning that He might balance this up by really rewarding Noni Madueke that he has been on form and scoring goals for fun in the previous 2 games. And he's like, let me throw him in, play in 60 minutes. I drop in Bukayo Saka as I prepare him for the North London derby. That is it. And the problem will be whether the manager starts Noni Madueke or not, and Madueke is on target. He scores in 3 consecutive games. You get? And that means he has to make a big decision in the North London derby. And I think to overcome that, you obviously start Saka, and really bring him on later. That is it. Left forward, Martinelli versus it's Martinelli versus what's the name of the guy? Martinelli versus Leandro Trossard. He started, scored a goal, and there he comes to see Leandro Trossard taking over his position. Jesus started and really scored against a team known as Wigan Athletic, and he's versing Victor Gyokeres, but Gyokeres also came off the bench and really put up a very thrilling performance, meaning that the manager will obviously put in Gyokeres to obviously extend his Premier League scoring run, as he scored a brace the last time they played. He scored a brace and he missed out on a goal, or on scoring a goal when when Arsenal was really drawing with Sunderland. No, when I was drawing with Brentford. A decision that I think was wrongly made by Mikel Arteta to keep on these players for a very, very long period of time. So that is my probable starting 11 for the club of Arsenal. I don't know what you people think about that probable starting 11 in the comment section below. I see a pool already here, Malcolm in there for you, and very many more. You guys come into the comment section and obviously do the needful and let me know what your thoughts are about this particular encounter. Now, Arsenal, I expect Arsenal to line up like that, and I do have the lineup for the side of Wolves. They do have Mosquera, Bueno, Krajic. That is the back 3. Gomez, and then Andre Gomez, Mane, another Joe Gomez, Bruno in there for you. That is the mid 5, and then Armstrong and Arokodare will be leading the line because they play a system of 3-5-2. That's the system that the side of Wolverhampton Wanderers plays hugely in there if you've been following them for some particular time. So that is it for the side of Wolverhampton Wanderers. Now, we head into another important aspect that many of you want to know. You want me to obviously come up and obviously tell you the prediction. But as usual, before I come up with the prediction, there are these match stats that I really feel like are really very important for you to come in here and obviously understand. The first one is, since doing the double over Arsenal in 2020-2021, Wolves have now lost each of their last 9 against the Gunners in the Premier League. Have you heard that? The last 9 in the Premier League, Wolverhampton Wanderers haven't survived the club known as Arsenal, right? Then we head to another one, and it reads that Arsenal have won 9 of their 11 Premier League away games against Wolves, 2 losses. Their highest win rate against any side they've faced 10 plus times on the road, 82%. Arsenal fans, that really keeps you smiling all the way to the Molineux. You get? Because Molineux looks like is one of those stadiums that you guys enjoy playing at, according to the stats. Thirdly, we come on with Arsenal have scored in each of their last 36 meetings with Wolverhampton Wanderers in all competitions. In competitive English football history, only Wrexham have had a longer scoring streak against an opponent, 49 plus Darrington between 1929 and 1961. So, Arsenal have scored in each of their last 36 meetings with Wolves in all competitions. So, don't go out there and think that Arsenal won't score. Arsenal will come up and obviously score because that's what they've been doing in the last 36 meetings. They've gone ahead to obviously meet with this particular club. Another one reads, both Arsenal And both of Arsenal's goals in their 2-1 win against Wolverhampton Wanderers in the reverse fixture were own goals. Only three sides have benefited from 3 own goals against an opponent in a single Premier League campaign. Charlton against Sunderland in 2002, 2003, Arsenal against Southampton in 2012 and 2013, and Southampton against Sunderland in 2014, 2015. So that's another start. We remember that game. Arsenal scored none of those goals when they are at the Emirates. All coming through as what we call own goals. So this time round, how will it happen at the Molineux in there? The other stat reads that Arsenal have won their last 14 Premier League matches against teams in the relegation zone by an aggregate of 40-4. It's the longest winning run against sides in the bottom 3 or bottom 4 in 1994, 1995 in the competition's history. Arsenal does really look well when they're really playing against teams in the bottom half in there. The other one reads that, I think they're like 10, collected by the BBC. Arsenal have won all 8 of their games played on Wednesday in all competitions this season. The last time a Premier League team had a better 100% win rate on a specific day over the course of the season was Man City in 2020-2021 season. They won 15 out of 15 on Wednesdays. You get? So they really came up with the best, and they really pulled out and represented, and they're really putting out something that is really very, very attractive. That is the club of Arsenal for you, and that's why you should look at them as the favorites to obviously take away these particular points. The other stat is Wolves have lost 16 of their 20 Premier League games against sides starting the day top of the table. 3 wins, 1 draw, beating Man United in January 2004 and February 2011, and Man City in September 2023. These 2 wins against Man United came while they were bottom of the table, however. So they've ever done it, and you never know. They might do it against the club known as Arsenal. That's why you Arsenal fans shouldn't obviously say it's over. You shouldn't just say it's over, because a lot can obviously come in through and happen in this particular encounter. Because shockers, never at any one time stop in the game of football in there for you. Now, the other stat is that Wolves have lost 10 of their 13 Premier League home games this season. 1 win and 2 draws, with only Southampton last season reaching 10 home losses in fewer games than 12. Wolves have only lost more home games in a single top flight season twice before. 11 in 1964 and 65 season, and 13 in 2011-2012 season in there for you. So that is all about Wolverhampton Wanderers. They're really having a very bad season. So the other stat is Wolves have failed to score in more different Premier League games than any other side this season, 14, while Arsenal have kept more clean sheets than anyone else, which are 13. So that is the club of Arsenal. They're really doing wonders in the league, and they are really shedding every box that should see a team really lift what we call the Premier League. Lastly, it's all about Arsenal's Noni Madueke, man who is really in fly form. Arsenal's Noni Madueke, who scored in his last 2 away league games, has scored more Premier League goals against Wolverhampton Wanderers than any other opponent, with his 4 goals against them accounting for 27% of his total in the competition, 4 out of 15. So that is Noni Madueke. He has gone ahead to score 4 goals against Wolverhampton Wanderers. Now, after bringing you all that, I come up with my prediction. 3-1 win for the club of Arsenal. That is it. I know Wolves will obviously try to put out a very stiff competition to obviously stop the club of Arsenal, but all I know is that things will come to an end. Obviously, now let me get into your comments. I've given you a prediction. It's a 3-1 win from me. But Gonza says, good evening, Aradi. Good evening. I think if Arteta should use same team, he used in the FA Cup apart from Azebalaga and White. Not really. Most of the players that really started at Arsenal on the bench: Raya, Julian Timber, Gabriel Magalhaes, Rice, Zubimendi, Trossard, and Victor Gyokeres. Close to 7 players that are starters at the club of Arsenal were really not started. So that is, it has to start there. Malcolm says, are you Nigerian? No, I'm not Nigerian. I'm Ugandan. Tukwasibwe Eric, good evening, RD. But why Arsenal always lead the table for long and let other clubs come and take the trophy? Maybe boys now are tired of the manager. No. This is a competition. I tell you, don't think that you will really win a trophy lousily like that, And this is what makes football interesting, And Arsenal are really 4 points clear ahead of City. And they do have a chance of really going 7 clear ahead of City. You get? Because they will have won a game of football. And if they really do that, and they win this game, they'll be at 60 points. And they'll be left with 11 games. Those will be 33 points. And how many out of the 33 will obviously be playing? Man City will be playing Newcastle, meaning that Man City goes into this game. If Arsenal wins tomorrow, City will get into this encounter knowing that they don't have a chance of really dropping any point, And Newcastle can do anything on any day, you get? And that game is going to be played on Saturday. Then Arsenal will come in through and really play against Spurs on Sunday. So that is it. All what Arsenal has to do is to really get these points in, and they restore that lead. I tell you, they'll restore it. They will. Bagonza says, yeah, live and clear, all right. Saka on the bench and Madueke starts, all right. That's what he's really saying. Mr. Aradi, big up, bro. While you are saying Arsenal to be champions, but team which is known favorably by the referee. Guys, let me tell you. You think Arsenal scored goals against Sunderland and they're really, against Brentford and they're really cut out? Tell me a genuine Arsenal goal that's ever been cancelled out. That game of Brentford, it was all an act of Arteta that kept Arsenal out of the reach of 3 points. But if the manager had obviously gone ahead to get his tactics right, Arsenal would have gone ahead to obviously walk out with all their heads high. But because the manager went ahead to obviously mismanage the game, that's why the game really went ahead to obviously go that way on the club of Arsenal. Don't talk about the referees, because if your team is really well prepared, then referees wouldn't be a problem. Look at how you conceded that goal. I think it was really lacking. You understand? Kassande Ben says, good job, all right. Eric says, and those teams in relegation and at home, they are not easy, so Arsenal have to be strong, especially in the midfield, because on the match of Brentford, midfield of Arsenal was lacking. I think the club of Arsenal will now be playing at an advantage. They're really playing before Man City plays. I think pressure also played a very big part in that game of Brentford because City had already gone ahead to play the previous day and Arsenal came in through and was also really playing. And I think it really caused some pressure onto these players. And when pressure is on you, you don't concentrate to the fullest. That is it. But I know teams in relegation that are really deadly to be played right now. And this is what you have to obviously overcome. Peter Bagonza says, with your lineup, I just change Saka and I start Noni Madueke. All right. So, guys, thank you very much for watching through. Rokani David is my name. 30 minutes of streaming live and talking to you direct. And you guys are really fun. And I've just dropped that video. And I think there is a video of Kamavinga already there. And I'm going to be really dropping another video in there for you. So, guys, I sign out for now. See you later. This is the Rokani Media Football, and continue to subscribe because we need to hit that magic number. 5 finger salute to everyone watching in through and those ones that will watch this video later.